Good morning, friends. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Hello. Trying to find our way this morning. Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well this morning. That there is goodness in your days. Good morning, Karen. How are you? You're doing well. Bonnie, good morning to you. Hello, hello. Hey, Sharon, how are you? Good morning. Glad you're here. Glad to see we are back on the old computer here. Jamie, good morning to you. By the way, congratulations, Jamie, to Alyssa's engagement. Her daughter got engaged over this last week. Such a joy. So good. So good. Good morning, everybody. All right. Got one or two more coming in here. And we're gonna. I'm gonna shut that off. I don't want to listen to that either. Good morning, everybody. All right, let's get going this morning. It is the 21st day of February. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're a part of this journey. 11:11. It is Fat Tuesday, everybody. Yeah, baby. Laissez les bon temps rouler. Like that. How many of us wish we were at Mardi Gras? Maybe a little bit. Yeah, the incredible party, the incredible spectacle that is the Mardi Gras adventure. That is a part of the grand tradition of what it is to be in this in this Christian walk. You see, and so I want to talk a little bit about Mardi Gras, and I want to talk a little bit about this what happens to be this spectacle that's been happening for really a month or two in New Orleans, but tonight is breaking out all over the world. No matter how the tradition is kept, the idea of whooping it up on Fat Tuesday is throughout the Roman Catholic world. So, and again, obviously not Catholics. That's not what we're doing. But this tradition has been ancient, and I want to try and tease out, I think, why these things come into being and why they endure. What they have to tell us about our journey in this world. And I think they actually begin at the beginning. I think this is one of those things that are hardwired into the fabric of creation, and because of it, it takes on this excitement and this spectacle that has been talked about, for literally millennia. That we talk about that these ways of coming into being. Now, whether you want to go whoop it up or not, that's not really the point. The point is that actually when we encounter these things, when we encounter these rituals that we as humans find ourselves doing, is that we find ourselves participating in truths that are so big and that are so large that we can't really articulate. The only thing we can do is go be a part of them, which is actually all of the greatest things of life, right? Jamie's daughter got engaged. She's going to go get married. Nobody knows what it is to be married until you end up being married. Nobody knows what it is to like, I mean, and we all have ideas about these things, and this is true about every part of our lives. Nobody knows what it is to be a mother until you end up being a mother. That the true and real and powerful things of our life are so true, not because of the fact that because we say they're true. They are so true because that we have to live them out, that we have to actually participate in them. Again, that word I talk about a lot, logos, which is the single worst translated word in creation. This idea that it is the word. It's the word in the way that it is the authoritative thing. It's that because we come to participate in creation. And it starts out right at the very beginning. So I want you to hear this. This is Genesis 1. The beginning of the story. The Genesis 1 verse 2, I'll skip a bit. The earth was complete chaos. The darkness covered the face of the deep, and while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters, then God said, "Let there be light." And there was light, and God saw that the light was good. And God separated the light from the darkness, and God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning the first day. Did you catch it? Did you catch it there? What happened? That God includes the darkness, God includes the chaos as actually, God includes the nothing as actually the beginning of the day. That there was evening and there was morning the first day. In fact, the Hebrew people still keep their calendar this way. The Sabbath feast starts on the sundown on Friday. It doesn't start it doesn't start Saturday morning. It starts Friday night because it is evening and morning the first day. I point this out not because we want to dive into biblical literalism. I point this out because this is the power of these patterns, the power of the reality in which we are implanted, and which is so close, which is closer to us than our own skin, and that we are participating in constantly. And I love to think of Mardi Gras as one of these places where it just kind of erupts out of what we think of. So in order to kind of understand this, we got to do a little history. So, someday I need to get like a little, Reverend Andy's history time, like something, little segue there into whatever. But this is what we've got today. Like today, you'll have to just understand that part of it's understanding. And so, in the United States, just to take the United States as an example, the first Mardi Gras was in 1703. So as soon as the French start to find their way into America on the South Coast, in Alabama and Louisiana, the first thing they do is bring their traditions with them. The first thing they do is they begin to set up the very traditions of that they brought with them, because of the fact that these traditions have been a part of the Christian tradition for millennia, and these erupt out of very much a very practical thing. So the church. So there's this question first, like where does Fat Tuesday, why does everybody whoop it up before we head into Ash Wednesday and this time of kind of fasting and penitence for 40 days towards Lent? Well, there's first a very practical reason, right? Like you've got stuff. You've got all the good stuff. You've got the grease in the house. You've got the sugar in the house. You've got the flour in the house. And if you're going to be fasting, you don't want it to go to waste. So what do? You make pancakes. So Shrove Tuesday is Pancake Day because for no other reason often than it is simply this that we don't want the stuff we've got in the house to go to waste. So the having a big party prior to the entry into the time of fasting and everything that will happen in the Lenten walk actually is just a practicality. And I want to submit to you that actually that's the reality of most of the deep patterns of our life. That they're not just like, oh, these kind of crazy old things that we do as humans, but they're actually deeply practical in our understanding and in our movement through the way. That we actually alternate our states, that we actually change, that we have the mornings of our own days where we're on it and we feel great and life is good and there is light and we can understand, and there is darkness in which we are perplexed, we struggle, we work, we have to kind of embrace the nothing of our days, and that these two things actually not only do they radically depend on each other, but often that there's no permission given for us to enter into them. If you think about how God structures the day, that it was evening and morning, that the very nothing is a part of the day, that the depth of struggle, that the depth of blackness that you can imagine, that you've experienced in your life, is actually part of creation and part of the day. And so too is the high heights, that the Mardi Gras festival, the embracing and the enjoyment of spectacle is actually a part of the day that God has given us. And that often in our life we've been kind of taught to snip these pieces and parts off. Right? I mean, we really have. Well, a lot of times because people don't want to deal with us because we're insufferable in them. Like, when we're great, we're like, like, oh God, here comes that guy again. And then, or if we're, channeling our inner Eeyore, and we're like, no birthday, no bother. When we're that, like, oh God, here comes that guy again. That the very experience of that becomes like difficult for us to be endured. But all of those experiences are actually a deep and real part of our being, our triumphs, our spectacle, and also our angst and our darkness. But it's not just that but the point is also that it's not just all in the kin of God, but that it all has an order to it. That the church never sets out, when the early church fathers kind of, when Lent, so Lent, by the way, the oldest festival of in Christendom. Now there's a lot of conversation. There's great conversation about how Lent comes into being, but it's older than Christmas. It's older than all of the church. And however we come to understand it, it is understood as this time of preparation to get ready for Easter. And some people say, well, it was because of the Easter baptism that people would fast prior to, but it was really this: if we are coming into the greatest of splendors in Eastertide, and in the resurrection, in the conquering of death itself, the first human reaction to that is what? There needs to be some absence in that. There needs to be some fasting in that. There needs to be some removal in that, so that the light can in fact inhabit the place of emptiness in us. that this natural rhythm, this natural phenomenon comes about. I mean, the early church fathers don't write this down like okay, we've got Easter, which is going to be a really good time. So how do we beat on some people before we get to that? They're not contemplating. These rituals naturally arise. That as people look down the barrel of celebration in Easter, there's a natural expectation is to withdraw and to step into the evening of experience so that the light may find a true home in them. And then what happens before that? And so as a result of that instinct, as a result of that movement, as a result of that living logos that takes place, anywhere from the first century to the third century, that starts to break out. So anywhere in there, what happens before that is right. That as a result of it, before you go on a big fast, what do? Eat a big meal, right? What do we do before? And so what is born? Fat Tuesday is born in that. Are you seeing it? Are you with me? Are you seeing this beautiful undulation of rhythm? This beautiful, it's as close as our breath. It is the beautiful, the inhale and the rush of oxygen and the red blood cells into our being, and the exhale, the expunging of that, which does what? What does that CO2 go out? Feed a bunch of plants so that more life comes into being. And we inhale again. This is the inhale and the exhale of all of creation. It's the inhale and exhale of our soul. We want to take these high highs and these low lows and kind of say, oh, if we're really people of faith, we're somehow we got this. We have, we talk a lot about peace. We're implacable because because of that. I don't believe in that. I believe it in the next life, and I believe that we can encounter that on our journey. I believe that on our pilgrimage through this world, we'll encounter those places, absolutely. But the expectation that we're going to live there, the expectation that we're not going to alternate states, that we're not going to have evening and morning, that we're not going to have our laissez les bon temps rouler moments, and we're also not going to have our fasting and penitent and Ash Wednesday moments. The fact that we're not going to have these alternating of states is ridiculous and an insult to the very first lines that the Creator gives us about the creation, of which we are a part, by the way. We're not separate from this. We are designed, and that our encounter of the most beautiful and the most wonderful and the most brilliant of truths in our lives is the most wonderful and most brilliant and most living experiences that we have in being them, walking them out. They're not the stuff we read about in a book. They're not a word. They are the word. They're the authority. They're the things that are so really real, they endure beyond all time and all space. They're the things that were really real for people 2,000 years ago. And they're the things that are really real for you and me right now and right here. Friends, laissez les bon temps rouler. Let the good times roll. That's what this means. That's the meaning. That is the battle cry of the Mardi Gras experience. And I would submit to you it is the battle cry of the Christian experience. And that means that the good times are actually in the very depths and sometimes in the evening moments of our being, in the Ash Wednesdays of our being. I remember when I was doing hospice work, I was with a particularly close family that they were also, they were they were mid-coast Maine, not particularly affluent. Everybody was working class. Everybody drove pickup trucks. They had their level of drama, and people, somebody's doing drugs, and all this. I mean, all this kind of drama and turmoil around there. But they so clearly loved one another. There was, regardless of whatever dysfunction might have been on board, they clearly, and as their patriarch was dying, they all rallied around their brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles and everybody. Everybody kind of checked their crazy at the door, and they came to rally around and just walk this man that they all loved home. And at the end of it, we were actually, they actually asked me, it was one of the few times that I actually ended up asking me to officiate the service for the person. So I really got the opportunity to walk them through the whole process. And at the end of it, we were literally walking away from the gravesite, and the eldest son, and I said, and he and I were just quiet, and he says, how has this been? How's this been for you? And he looked at me and he says, this is going to sound crazy, but this has been terrific. A man who was just a man who clearly not in the habit of crying, who was just weeping moments before at the gravesite of his father, in which he planted the bones of the one he had loved in the ground, walked away from that gravesite saying, this has been terrific. That even in the depths of our grief, even in the profundity of our loss, that when we truly embrace it, when we truly meet it face to face, when we truly step into it, even in our hearts breaking, even with tears rolling down our face, there is still a beauty and a wonder, even in the evening tide of our days. Friends, Laissez les bon temps rouler. Let the good times roll. Whether you find yourself in evening, whether you find yourself at twilight, whether you find yourself at morning, there is a beauty and a grace and a logos and a really realness of creation that is beyond your knowing and your understanding, but is begging for your participation in it. Let the good times roll. Let God's presence be known in the darkness and in the light. And that in the alternating states of our beings, God's grace and God's love for us may be made abundant every step of the way. This is my hope for you on this Fat Tuesday. And we'll pick it up tomorrow with another 11:11. Peace and grace to you, my friends.